Joining us now is Okpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, Oji.
Happy Friday. Can you breathe?
Of course, I
Take
can
a
breathe.
deep breath. How are you?
I'm good.
We missed you yesterday. Good to see you.
Yeah, we really did.
Good morning, Tunde. You look lovely. How are you? Thank you.
Your green shift.
Thank you. Good morning, Rufai. How are you?
Oh,
God.
Rufai has joined us.
Hi, we are waving from afar. How are you?
Fine, I'm doing all right.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, good morning to you, viewers. We begin what's trending in Cross River State, Nigeria, where it looks like the status of the state, being the only state without a COVID-19 case, has now changed with the death of Godwin Akwaji, a lawmaker representing Ibidun constituency at the state's House of Assembly. Reports say the lawmaker died after showing symptoms of COVID-19 at the University of Calabar Teaching Hospital Isolation Center. Akwaji was said to be diabetic and exhibited fatigue, fever, and breathlessness. He was treated for malaria and pneumonia with no improvement. Reports also suggest that some persons who visited the lawmaker at the hospital are already showing symptoms of COVID-19. Meanwhile, the Cross River State government has accused the federal government of plans to import positive COVID-19 test samples into the state through the Nigerian Navy. In a now viral video, the state's Commissioner for Information, Asu Okang, said they received a leaked memo exposing the crooked plans by the Ministry of Health to bring the positive COVID-19 test samples into the state. Let's take a listen.
We received a leaked memo that was written to the Nigerian Navy Hospital, Calabar, informing them of the federal government's intention, that's the Federal Ministry of Health's intention, to train users of the gene expert machine that has been lying fallow at the Nigerian Navy Hospital in Calabar since its commissioning by President Muhammadu Buhari. The letter states that test kits, cartridges, are going to be sent to the hospital, over 200 cartridges, to the hospital, the Nigerian Navy Hospital Calabar, by the NCDC to use as training for the test run training. Meaning that in the course of training the trainees, they will have to see positive test samples, what they look like, and negative test samples, what they look like. What is the implication? That they will be importing some positive test samples that will be shown to the trainees in the course of the training alongside the negative test samples. And so we are worried about this purported plan to ensure that positive test kits are sent to our state through the Nigerian Navy Hospital. We are worried about this, and it is important that we bring to fore this agenda, this very crooked agenda by the Federal Ministry of Health in collaboration with the Center for Tuberculosis to bring in positive samples into our state in the name of training people on the use of the gene expert machine.
Well, first of all, our condolences to Mr. Godwin Akwaji, who died in those circumstances, really.
But really, I think what I find really disturbing is the insistence on the part of two state governments, Cross River and Kogi, to keep arguing that the federal government has plans to import coronavirus into their states. Even when it was reported, 2 cases were reported in Kogi State. A chief imam and his son who have been referred for testing in Abuja, and NCDC recorded that as 2 cases from Kogi State. Up to this moment, Kogi State is still in a state of denial. And what we have seen again is the same kind of attitude in Cross River State. I mean, I hope that the Commissioner for Information Cross River State will keep this tape. Maybe when he's out of office, he will listen to it himself and just see how, unintelligent it sounds. If the Federal Ministry of Health wants to collaborate with certain institutions in the state of in Cross River State. I mean, they will have done their own assessment. It makes it look as if COVID-19 samples is something that somebody can just bring and distribute
spread out
on the streets of Calabar. So I find the argument so disingenuous. And I think what is important is these two states to cooperate with the Presidential Task Force. Only recently, the Minister of Health was saying that, look, the federal government was going to send another team to Cross River, to Kogi, and even to Ogun and Lagos states to assess progress and to see how expertise can be shared. That's where the focus should be. It shouldn't be about, oh, our state is immune from COVID-19. We've seen the example in Tanzania, where the president said, the state is the country is protected by God from COVID-19, but that is not the fact. We've seen in Burundi, where Pierre Nkurunziza, the president, even died as a result of COVID-19, and he too didn't believe in the existence of COVID-19. So our political leaders will need to be careful, and spokespersons should not, out of enthusiasm or being misguided, just say things that don't sound reasonable to more intelligent people.
I'm not sure what's going on. I mean, I think they're just afraid.
It's like we're looking at the skyrocketing infection rates in Africa. We discussed that earlier this morning. And it's people like this with their conspiracy theories run amok, apart from easing of lockdowns, that are to blame for that. This, for me, is mortifying. I remember the Ebola crisis.
Yes.
I was appalled by the way people in Congo were attacking health workers, beating them up, in some cases killing them. And I was thinking, this makes no sense. We would never do that. But now this is the kind of thing that we're seeing. This man, the Commissioner for Information, said himself that it's for training purposes. It's to show you how the samples ought to look. How does that now become some kind of sinister plot?
Well, the idea is that the fact that they are bringing in positive test samples is the worry that they're exhibiting at this point. I don't understand how.
He's speculating. Well, Perhaps the samples will be as a result of testing in Cross River.
No, they have to have positive test samples in order to be able to test properly. So the fear is
train people.
Yes, to train people. Yes. So the fear is that bringing in those positive test samples
they will distribute
onto the streets of Calabar.
It doesn't add up to me.
Sense?
I mean, how are other people doing their testing in the first place to start with? I know that you have a comment, Rufai.
I have a lot of comments because I'm sorry, I know quite a lot about this. And what the commissioner was saying was really very shocking for me. Obviously, he's never done a test in his life. He doesn't even know the modalities. You saying bringing in test samples, they take swabs of individual people. And the modality is different. So you saying a training material is what will be distributed across the states, how can that be? Because you have to do independent new tests where you take swabs of the people, you take their details, and you test and you get a result. So when I watched the video of what the commissioner was saying, to all intents and purposes, I am shocked at how uninformed the man is. He's just speaking in a very uninformed way, and I'm very shocked. And you see, people like this will just ruin the fight against COVID. It's everywhere. People are dying as a result of COVID, and we are having a lot of COVIDiots speaking on the television about things they don't even know about. I'm sure he's not lost anybody to COVID. I lost Dan a couple of days ago to COVID. This is real. You don't get any trophy by not having COVID. Is there a trophy for best non-COVID states?
Anyway,
I guess
right. There are protocols. Right. Political commentators may not understand what those protocols are. But state governments also should not put foolishness and bad politics ahead of science.
Yes.
They should listen to the scientists. It's not a political subject.
Okay, so basically his real worry is that, they shouldn't be bringing in the positive test results. And I guess you don't have to
have
know
those anything.
Test results to be positive to be able to do those experiments.
The man doesn't know anything about the testing. He doesn't know any. It's obvious. It's obvious. I bet he's never done a COVID-19 test in his life.
Well, all right.
Maybe we should recommend to him to go and take a COVID-19 test. So he can have an experience of the procedure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, very well said, guys. Let's take another story. A video of an alleged coronavirus patient refusing to be moved to an isolation center in Ebonyi State has gone viral. In the video, officials who were not wearing appropriate protective gears could be seen struggling to put the man in the truck. Well, let's take a look at this video before we take some reactions.
You are making things look at for your life that they are talking of. Huh? We are making your case more difficult. You do not understand. If you cooperate well, you treat you very well. But if you want to behave like a free criminal, you will not like it. Stay there, my friend. What kind of I think we need rope. Yes, huh? Let's get it. We need rope. What kind of human being is this? Look at you.
All right, well, let's take some reactions before we chat. Well, human rights activist Segun Awosonya wrote on Twitter, someone sent this with a caption, coronavirus patient arrested in Abakaliki, tweeting at the NCDC, please, if this is how people are treated under the suspicion of being a case, then every unit like this must be quarantined as possible cases as well. This is just too distasteful. #end impunity. Another user wrote, this is in itself coronavirus baptism. And if truly this guy is positive as claimed, then a lot of families will be at high risk of receiving their own portion too. At NCDC, please kindly investigate these claims. Thank you.
The story about the gentleman who was arrested in Abakaliki, I mean, this one is even just as shocking as the other one. Because, I mean, these are officials, state officials, I imagine, claiming that they are arresting a COVID-19 suspect. And in any case, I don't like the word suspected COVID-19 person. Because it's not a crime.
Yes,
to have COVID-19, it does not amount to committing a felony. You know, and they were dehumanizing him and also putting their own lives at risk.
Yes, and that's what they're talking about.
The gentleman in the black baseball cap does not have his mask covering his nose and mouth. Neither does this gentleman who is thought to have had COVID-19. This is really alarming.
If he had sneezed or he had coughed, you know, they would just have endangered their own lives. I think that, you know, officials that are involved in helping COVID-19 persons, they need to be trained.
And explain to him that he's going to be treated.
Yes, so that people can willingly, you know, cooperate with them. This is so ugly, and I think it should be investigated.
Yes.
And they were saying, we need a rope, we need a rope.
I mean,
they turned the guy into a goat. In fact, they finally found a rope, and I was afraid that they were going to put the rope around his neck.
Unbelievable.
You know, it's so ridiculous.
This is
at this point. Rufai?
You know, let me quote a very good British friend of mine. He'll say, "Now, wow, this is more than shocking. This is more than shocking. At first, all the guidelines set aside by the NCDC was not followed, was not upheld. You don't go this close to somebody that has got COVID-19. There are ways you talk to them and you tell them it's for their own good. You don't pull them. In fact, a lot of you didn't see the cane. They brought a cane. In fact, they were flogging him with a cane. They totally trampled on his human rights. And you know, they could have killed the man. Look at him. They almost gave him a chokehold over there while they were pulling him down. They could have just killed the man for nothing. We need a lot of education. This is not a good sight for Nigeria.
It's awful.
It's awful. It's awful.
Well, I think the NCDC should really investigate this matter as soon as possible if it is really that he is a coronavirus patient at this point. It is ridiculous.
Oji, I hope there will be an update so that we'll know how the story
as soon as I get an update, I'll bring it.
I'd be interested to know.
Yes,
how it
poor
pans
guy,
out.
really.
Yes.
All right.
In fact, they can sue them
Yes.
This is too much.
You can sue them for
It's too
harassment.
much.
I think he
it's
should.
excessive.
But we've seen some of these types of videos anyway. I saw one in India, the same way they treated the guy. They were pulling
That
the
man
guy.
was beaten.
Yes, did you
Yes,
see
I
that
saw
guy?
that man
Yes.
that
So
was beaten.
we've seen some videos like this as well. While still in Nigeria, Justice Minister Abubakar Malami announced on Thursday that the federal government is set to establish specialized courts for the speedy hearing of rape and gender-based violence offenses. According to Malami, the specialized courts will enable timely trial of all pending and incoming rape and gender-based cases. The minister says the Ministry of Justice is currently engaging with heads of courts for the establishment of the specialized courts. The ministry has also commenced the review of all existing laws and policy instruments relating to rape, child defilement, and gender-based violence. And this is completely amazing news. I know we discussed this debange issue yesterday, and we established that, if you're a rape victim, you should go report to an NGO first before you go to the police. And I think that this whole process is just really coming at the right time. The minister also said that they will establish sex offenders registers at various police agencies as well. So I think it's amazing.
It really is.
Yeah.
I'm glad that attention has been paid
Right.
to this scourge. And we have had specialized courts in the past, you'll know it, but that tends to happen in the military era. But this is, I think, to underline just what a serious problem it really is. You hear all kinds of truly heartbreaking cases, so it's necessary.
Well, I guess the idea of also having a specialized course is because the wheel of justice grinds slowly.
Yeah.
So if you have dedicated courts looking at issues of rape and gender-based violence, those cases can then be treated expeditiously.
Yes.
Because timing is also of essence in rape matters. Now, but the other thing about sexual offenders register, I think, yes, it's a good idea. And that is being done, for example, in Ekiti State and Lagos State. And the whole idea is to name and shame people.
Yes.
But I'm a bit uncomfortable with the idea of, keeping those registers at police formations, as he said. And that's out of skepticism about the behavior, the attitude of our policemen. One day you will just hear that that particular register has disappeared.
They might not include. We need a proper database. But Lagos State has a database.
Yes, so that is better. And they have a database in Ekiti too, and they use technology to put out the names of those who have been identified. Now, the Attorney General also talked about reviewing the relevant laws. And the question for me is, what should come first? Is it the establishment of the specialized courts or the review of the laws? And I think that the review of the relevant laws should be the first step.
Yes.
And there should be proper coordination between the executive and the legislative arm of government. We've said it severally on this program that, for example, if you are a rape victim, you are required to go to a public hospital. Only a government hospital is allowed to examine you. You can't go to a private hospital. Now, when you go to court, you will be required to prove that you were raped. And the process, many women will think that they are being put to shame, and they will not want that. So all of these relevant aspects of the law will have to be addressed to make it easier for rape victims to speak up and for them to get justice.
Very well said. Rufai?
Dr. Abatia, I really appreciate your concern about the sex offenders register, but that's why we have cloud platforms. They should put it on the cloud platform so that everybody can have access to it. I might be doing a research and I want to have data of sex offenders register. I should be able to have a cloud platform where I can access it, because I fear if you put it somewhere, it might get burnt. We all know how offices get burnt in this country.
Give it to policemen.
and data vanish like that. And very good point you talked about, Dr. Abati, as regards the laws. We need to review the laws. And you said it's quite difficult for, rape victim, because of the processes. And that's why yesterday we were saying on the show that they should meet NGOs, that help fight rape cases, because the NGOs know more about these processes. And they know how to help to take the rape victims through these processes. So it's better for them to meet the NGOs. You might go to the police directly and not get traction, but the NGOs are probably work with the DPOs at that area, and they have legal counsel, so they can lead you on how to go. And I think we should also set aside funding for a lot of NGOs that deal with rape cases, because really they are the first frontiers in all of this, and they are the one that stays with you, that does the psychological work with you, that does the emotional work with you, that does the counseling work with you, and the rehabilitation work with you afterwards. Because apart from even getting justice, we forget in a hurry that rape victims need to get their life back on track. They need emotional rehabilitation. They need somebody that will be there for them, and they need to start to work their journey again. And sometimes this journey takes a lifetime.
And I hope that there will be, lawyers who will be willing to take rape cases pro bono. Yeah. Because part of the cost of litigation, part of the problem is the cost of litigation. The rape victim may be wondering, how do I get a lawyer? How much will I pay the lawyer? Can I even afford the services of a good lawyer? So we'd like to see members of the Nigerian Bar Association volunteering to take rape cases or gender-based violence cases pro bono.
Very
that would be a good contribution.
Yeah. Yes, and just to make a point with the sex offenders register as well, I like the fact that you said that they should try to put it in the cloud as well. And I think that the sensitization should be that, people should use those sex offenders register, because, I mean, when you're hiring people or you want to check people, you have to go through those systems as well. So that sensitization has to come hand in hand as well. Let's take another story in Lagos State, Nigeria. With the continued lockdown measures to curb the spread of COVID-19, the Lagos State Police Command have deployed a surveillance drone to disperse people gathered beyond the stipulated curfew period. A video posted on the agency's official Twitter handle has now made rounds on social media. Let's take a quick look.
We are arrested for the search from Lagos State. What you are doing here is illegal. Still selling by this time of the day, you have contravened the laws of the land. You are supposed to have locked up your shop since. Curfew starts by 2 o'clock. Your remaining here shows you are going against the laws of the land. We hereby give you 3 minutes. 3 minutes to pack up, lock your shops, and leave this place immediately. Anybody found around here after 3 minutes will be arrested. Anybody found around here after 3 minutes will be arrested. Ìkọ́tà ìṣe bẹ́ṣẹ̀ wà bíbá ìfọ́lódì sófin. Ìjọba ní kí ẹ ti ṣọ́ọ̀bù yín. We are arrested for the search from Lagos.
I think it's an amazing invention right now with the Lagos State government. Yes.
The Lagos State government also deploying technology as part of the management facilities for COVID-19. That drone was being used to tell those shop owners to close shop within 3 minutes.
And you can see people scattering away, running away.
Within a matter of seconds, they started putting out their lights. And, the use of drones, I mean, it's part of the reality of the new age. And in Rwanda and Ghana, we have seen drones being used for purpose of medical supplies, particularly to the rural areas.
Yes.
And I hope that the Lagos State government and the Presidential Task Force may begin to consider also, the use of drones in that particular regard. It has worked very well in Ghana. It's working very well in Rwanda. But here in Nigeria, it's interesting to see that we're using it for enforcement of the lockdown. But they should also use it for medical supplies.
That's a good point. Rufai?
I think it's not fully used. And I think you have drones there to be able to do a lot. Those drones can take pictures. They can do some reconnaissance work. Why don't you take pictures of the plate number of these defaulting people or the picture of those subs, and you serve them a court notice and they come and defend themselves? Because that's where we can truly make people comply with this. So apart from just using the drones as announcements, in fact, this is the first time in my life I'm going to see they are using drones as announcements. You take a lot of pictures, you take, camera evidence, and you sanction these people, because COVID is not a joke. So please, if they can put down one to it, the cars that were still seen at that time, they should take their plate numbers, match it up with the authorities that manage plate numbers, and serve them papers. That's what they do in the Western world. That's what they do in speed cameras. Nobody comes to stop you on the road and say, please don't be there at that time. You're already breaking a law at that time. So I don't need to remind you that you're breaking a law.
But obviously, there is a camera attached to that drone.
Yeah.
And that's why we have the pictures.
Yes.
And I guess, if they want them, first time, second time, the next thing, of course, will be to ensure that they are sanctioned.
Very well.
And when people know that they are being watched, that the big brother eyes are on them, then they will be more careful.
Very well said. Let's take our final story with a beautiful rendition by popular gospel musician Okpe Alabi, who has paid tribute to ex-beauty queen and philanthropist Ibidun Ighodalo, who passed on Sunday, June 14th, from a reported cardiac arrest just weeks before her 40th birthday. In this emotional rendition, Okpe expressed how the world has lost a rare treasure with a golden heart. Let's take a listen.
I can't believe you are gone. Oh, I was shocked and sad when I heard the news. Oh no, I can't believe you are gone. Oh, I was shocked and sad when I heard the news. Oh, we are pained. Olùfẹ́ gbogbo ń fojú ṣògbèrè ẹkún. Abẹ́ orí kékeré já lórí. A ò fẹ́ kó lọ. Ìbídùn. A ò fẹ́ kó lọ. Àbí ń pé ó wá gbàkàrà kó fi jẹ̀kọ. Àtọmọ wálé. A ò fẹ́ kó lọ. A ò fẹ́ o. A ò fẹ́ kó lọ. Àwa ò fẹ́. A ò fẹ́ kó lọ. Àwa ò rò pé a ó kọrin ìdágbére níwòyí kẹ̀. A ò fẹ́ kó lọ. Ṣùgbọ́n ìwọ jù gbẹ́kẹ̀ lọ, kò dání kan fọwọ́ gbélé rojú ìgbà ẹ̀kẹ́ lọ. Ẹran ìfẹ́ tí bẹ lọ́kàn àyà rẹ̀, àfi bí wúrà lọ́kàn, àfi bí ègbè. Though I know it's better on the other side, I know it's peaceful in paradise. We are pained, you had to leave us.
What a beautiful tribute to Ibidun.
Her funeral service is tomorrow at 2 p.m. and I know that we're going to be streaming it live here on Arise News.
Well, thank you very much, Oji.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.